Shipping Solutions is the quick and easy way to create accurate export paperwork, file through the automated export system, and stay compliant with US export regulations. Today we'll be diving a bit deeper into Shipping Solutions, going through the software screen by screen, and by the end of this video you should have a good sense of what Shipping Solutions is, how it works, and how it might be able to help your company. So, let's get started. The Shipping Solutions software is divided into a series of tabs which are listed up here. This Easy Start tab is really the core of the software. It's on the Easy Start tab that you can prepare the different export documents you need for a shipment, you can store your shipments in a master record, you can preview, print, or email any of the documents, you can submit your electronic export information to the automated export system, also known as AES, and you can also run some compliance screenings on the Easy Start tab as well. But before I go more in depth on the Easy Start tab, I'll first start with the Databases tab. Now there's really two different ways that users can use the software. The first way is to populate the databases with as much information as you can, and then use that so you can just pull information from the databases to fill out your different export forms, rather than having to retype that same information over and over again each time you're preparing your paperwork. The second way is if your company has an accounting, order entry, or ERP system. Shipping Solutions has a utility built in called the Data Exchange Manager, or DXM for short, which allows it to connect to a system like that. So you can set it up so that every hour or every day, or however you'd like to set it up, Shipping Solutions will pull order information from your ERP system and use that to automatically generate your documents. But in some cases, even if a company has an ERP system, they may still utilize these databases when they're starting out. So I'll go through these different databases so you can get a sense of how these work and what these can do. The first is the contacts database. So we can see right now we're looking at exporters. There's two of them. I can scroll through them using these arrows, select them in this table down here, and we can search using these fields. So just your basic contact information like the company name, the address, contact name, phone number, email address, the company's tax ID number, etc. So we have this sub-database for exporters. We have another one for ultimate consignees, which would typically be your customers, bill to, freight forwarders, intermediate consignees, and miscellaneous. So the way each of these would work is if you want to add a new contact, you just click Add New Contact, fill in the fields. If that was an accident, you can click Delete Contact, and you can also copy a contact from one of these databases to another. So that's where we'll store our basic contact information. The next screen is the Products database. So you can see for this example we have over 6,000 products stored in the database. There's no limit to the number of products that can be stored in the database. This top section is information that you would need for an invoice, the basic product information, so the product ID, product description, unit of measure, unit price, the Schedule B code, which is important when exporting out of the US, gross weight, net weight, and the country of origin. This middle section here is the information you need specifically for filing through the automated export system. You might notice that there's a Schedule B description here, which is separate from the product description, and that's because AES limits you to a maximum of 45 characters, so your description for AES might be a bit different. You might also notice that there's an AES unit of measure 2 here, and that's because for certain products AES requires you to list it in 2 different units of measure. Otherwise, there's the other information you would need for AES, like whether the origin is domestic or foreign. You can select the license type from a drop-down menu. The most common is going to be C33, no license required. You can put your license number or exemption code here, and you can put your ECCN or EAR 99 if that applies here. So if you want to add a new product, you just click Add New Product. If that was an accident, you can click Delete Product, and we can search for products using these fields here and select them in this table down here as we're searching. Shipping Solutions also includes a dangerous goods database, so if you need to create dangerous goods IATA declarations for air transport or dangerous goods IMO declarations for sea transport of dangerous goods, you can create those documents using the software as well. If you click this Look Up DG button, it'll bring up a database of all the different dangerous goods with their UN numbers, so you can enter a description of your good and it'll give you all the different results. You can pick the one that fits your particular product and create those dangerous goods declaration forms if needed. This phrases database is for different phrases, statements, or codes you might want to put on certain documents. This comes preloaded with the 4 most common AES exemption codes, the most recent destination control statement, as well as a few other types of phrases and statements, but you can modify these or add your own, and these can show up on your packing list or your commercial invoice, for example. Currencies database has a list of all the world's currencies, and you can enter conversion rates as you get them. Payment terms database comes preloaded with a few that you might use, but you can add your own. Countries database has a list of all the world's countries with their 2 and 3 character codes. Carriers and ports actually consists of 4 databases: IATA codes for air carriers, SCAC codes for inland carriers, and foreign port codes and port of export codes. So all 4 of these come preloaded as well, so your carrier or port should most likely already be in these databases along with its respective code. If it's not, you can click Add New and add your own. This export codes and license type sections, this is information you would need again for AES, so these also come preloaded with the different export codes and the different license types recognized by AES. This package types database comes preloaded with a generic palette, but you can enter your own packages with their own dimensions. As you can see here, I've entered a crate as an example, and I'll show you in a little bit how we can create a packing list using this information. And then we have a database for miscellaneous lists. The last thing that I'll emphasize on the databases tab is the Shipment Log Items. So this is pretty important. This comes preloaded with 7 generic steps you would follow as part of an export compliance procedure, but you can add steps, subtract steps, modify steps. It's fully customizable to fit your company's specific procedure, and I'll show you in a little bit how this comes into play on the Easy Start tab. So, now that we've entered the data in the Databases tab, the Easy Start tab is really where we'll be spending most of our time. Again, really the core of the software. So you can see right now we're looking at shipment number 1255. If we click Select Shipment, it'll bring us the master record of all of our previous shipments, and we can go back and view them if we'd like. So if I go into Contacts, we can see there's already some information in these fields because this was a shipment I had previously worked on. But let's say we want to start a new shipment from scratch. We can go to the top left, click the new button. It'll assign the next number, so it's created shipment number 1256. And now if we go into Contacts, we can see that all these fields are blank because I just started a new one. Now there's 2 ways to go about filling out this information. The first way would be to manually type the information into all these fields, but of course that's going to be very time consuming, and it's also error prone because the more manual data entry you're doing, the greater the chance of making a mistake. So this is where the Contacts database comes in handy. If we click Add Contact from Database, for the exporter it'll default to drawing from the exporter's database. For the ultimate consignee, it'll default to drawing from the ultimate consignee database, and so forth. So we can just go through and quickly add each of our contacts from the respective databases. And just like that, in about 15 seconds, we were able to enter all the contact information for this shipment, and now that we've entered it once, we'll never have to enter it again for this shipment. This contact information will be automatically added to all the different documents for which it's needed with the proper formatting, and we just need to enter it once on this screen and we're good to go. So we can click Save and Close. The next screen is the Product Details screen. So this is where we'll enter information about the products that will actually be on the shipment. Again, there's 2 ways to go about it. The first would be to click Add New and manually type the information, but what's going to be a lot quicker and easier is to pull it from the database. So if we click Add from Database, it'll give us a table of all of our products. We can search using these fields, but let's say for this example we need these first 3 products. I can hold Control and click to select multiple, and click Add Selected Products to Shipment. Now we can see they're listed here, 3 of 3. We can scroll through them using these arrows, but of course I do need to enter a sales quantity. So if I enter a sales quantity and tab out, it'll automatically multiply the sales quantity by the unit price to give us an extended price. So we can just go through and quickly add sales quantities for each of these 3 products. And just like that, we have our product information entered for this shipment. Now, if you need a certificate of origin for NAFTA or other free trade agreements, the software does allow you to create not only a NAFTA certificate, but also certificates of origin for CAFTA-DR, the free trade agreements that the US has with Australia, Chile, Colombia, Korea, and Israel. So depending on what you need, you can enter the information in these fields, and you can complete the certificate of origin on a separate screen dedicated to that document. Similarly, we have this bill of lading section here for package information that pertains to this particular product for a bill of lading, and then depending on what type of bill of lading you need, you can finish that document on a separate screen. But now that we've entered our product information, we can click Save and Close. The next screen is for carriers and ports, so we can select our mode of transport. So this is the mode of transport for how the goods are actually leaving the country. So maybe they're leaving on an airplane, so I can select air. And then because I've selected air as the mode of transport, if we click select exporting carrier, it'll bring us to that IATA codes database, the air carriers codes database. If we have an inland carrier, we can pull that in from that database. Port of export will bring us to the port of export codes database, and the port of unloading will bring us to the foreign ports codes database. So again, your carrier port should most likely already be in these databases along with its code. If it's not, you can click add new and add your own, or you can manually type the information into these fields here. The next screen is for invoices. So this top section up here is for a pro forma invoice, and this middle section here is for a commercial invoice. The fields are identical, but let's say for this example we want to create a commercial invoice. Of course, one of the most basic documents that'll go out with most shipments. We can enter an invoice date, an invoice number. Here we can put a phrase on the document, and here we can put special instructions. Both of these can be drawn from the phrases database, so maybe for my phrase I want to put that destination control statement on there, and for my special instructions I want to put a customs value only statement, so I can just pull those in from the phrases database. Otherwise, down here is the remaining information for the invoice, like the order number, PO number, any terms related to the sale. If you're using Incoterms, you can indicate which Incoterm you're using from a drop-down menu. Incoterm location, Incoterm year, whether you're looking at the 2000 or 2010 edition, and then here's for freight and handling and insurance and other miscellaneous fees that you can break out. Country of ultimate destination, point or state of origin. If you're using intermediate consignee, you can choose to show it as bill to or intermediate consignee. The invoice currency will default to US dollars, but you can select any of the other world's currencies, and you can also list it in an alternate currency, so maybe we want it in US dollars along with Belgian euros. I can select Belgium euro, and if I tab out, it'll pop up with an alternate currency exchange rate box, and that's where we can enter the most up-to-date exchange rate. And then finally we can have a signature show up on this document from signatures that we've previously uploaded, and I'll show you a bit later where you can upload signatures. But now that we've entered the information for the invoice, let's say we want to see what this document will actually look like. We can click Preview Print Email, select Commercial Invoice, and click Preview. So here's what our invoice is going to look like. We've got our contact information on the left, invoice details on the right, product information in this table here. Customs value only statement shows up here, destination control statement shows up down here, freight and handling fees, total cost, Incoterm information, and then I have it set up so that my signature shows up down here and my logo shows up here. But of course, if you were using the software yourself, you could use your own signature and your own logo. Also, from the Preview Print Email menu, we can print any of the documents, we can save them as PDFs and combine up to 5 into a single PDF, and we can also email them either to email addresses associated with our contacts, or we can type or paste the email addresses we'd like to send them to down here. The last of these sort of core 5 screens is this EEI, or Electronic Export Information screen. So this is the remaining information you need to submit a filing through AES. So you can enter your shipment reference number, the date of export, filing option will most likely be pre-departure, state of origin. You can check any of these boxes if they apply. This is the email address you'd like the response to be sent to after AES accepts your filing, and this AES ITN field is for the ITN code that AES gives you after it accepts your filing. Otherwise, if you're claiming exemption from filing through AES, you can select one of the common AES exemption codes from the phrases database. So maybe for this example, I'm shipping to Canada, so I'm claiming exemption for that reason. Now, if you were authorizing a freight forwarder or some other third party to file through AES on your behalf, typically you would provide them with a shipper's letter of instruction, also known as an SLI. So Shipping Solutions does allow you to create an SLI in both the old SED format as well as the more up-to-date NCB FAA format. So depending on what you need, you can enter the information in these fields and you can complete the SLI on a separate screen dedicated to that document. But now that we've gone through these 5 core screens, now would be a good time to show you the AES feature. Shipping Solutions makes it very quick and easy to do your own AES filing, which can be advantageous because that way you're not paying a freight forwarder to do it on your behalf, plus you have full control over the filing so you can make sure there's no errors or inaccuracies which could hold up your shipment, prevent you from getting paid on time, or get you in trouble with customs. So it says follow the 7 steps to complete your AES direct filing. The 7 steps are listed on the left side of the screen. The first says review and correct any missing items listed on the right side of the screen. So if there are any fields we still needed to enter information into, it would list those fields here, and it does look like there are 2 data elements I do need to include for the AES filing, the export tax ID number and the exporter tax ID type. So I know that if this was a real filing, if I was doing this for real, I'd want to make sure to go back to the contact screen, fill out those 2 fields, but assuming I did that, it would then tell me that all AES data is complete, so we can move on to step 2, which says click the Login tab and log in to the ACE portal. So if we click the Login tab, we can see that the US Customs and Border Protection ACE portal is just directly embedded right into the software. Shipping Solutions is fully certified by the US Census Bureau to offer this AES filing feature in our software. So if you were to proceed past this point, you would see that the AES filing would be automatically generated, and the way that it gets generated is by pulling information from those 5 screens we just went through to prepare our paperwork. So rather than having to retype all that same information all over again for AES purposes, the filing gets generated for you. And of course, you do have the opportunity to review each filing before you make your final submission to make sure that everything is accurate, but this is one way the software can help save you some time. So after AES accepts your filing, you can click this Get ITN button, and that'll paste the ITN code into this field here, so you have proof that your filing was accepted and you can reference that for your documents. I guess the last core screen is really this packing list screen, of course along with your commercial invoice, another very standard document that'll go out with most shipments. You can create it very easily. First you click Add New Package, then you click Load Package. If you click Load Package, it'll bring us to a screen where we have our unpacked items up here and our packed items down here. And maybe for this example I just want to pack all of these items onto a single pallet. So I can click Add All. Now they're all in the packed items category. I can select the package type from the package types database. Number of packages this size is just going to be 1. If I tab out, it'll generate the total cubic feet and total cubic meters. I can enter a gross weight and a net weight. We can have a signature show up on the packing list. Here we can put any special instructions, and here we can put a container or package description. So I can preview the packing list quick so you can get a sense of what that document might look like. So here's our packing list. So you might notice that this contact information shows up, these invoice and carrier details show up, this product information shows up, but we didn't have to retype all that information just for the packing list. We had one common screen for contacts, one common screen for products, and boom, it shows up on all the different documents for which it's needed with the proper formatting. So that's what our packing list will look like. So once you get through these first core screens, it's really just a matter of going down the list, going only to the screens you need to go to depending on which documents you need. So if you need a certificate of origin for NAFTA or other free trade agreements, you'd go here. If you need a generic certificate of origin, you'd go here. You can create a Canada Customs invoice, a CARICOM invoice. You can have a product summary show up on certain documents. This shipper's letter of instruction screen is the remaining information for an SLI. This parcel shipping feature can come in handy, so if you use UPS WorldShip or FedEx Ship Manager, this allows Shipping Solutions to integrate with UPS or FedEx software, so there's a bit of setup required, but it's pretty simple, and once that's done, it's as simple as checking this box to make your shipment information available to UPS WorldShip, or checking this box to make it available to FedEx Ship Manager. So rather than having to retype all that same information all over again for UPS or FedEx, you can have Shipping Solutions transmit that information directly to their software, ultimately making it quick and easy to print out your shipping label and track your package. And it even gives you a little link to track your package here. You can create some different types of bills of lading: an inland bill of lading, an ocean bill of lading, and an airway bill. You can create those dangerous goods IATA declarations for air transport and dangerous goods IMO declarations for sea transport. And the last thing that I'll emphasize on this list here is this shipment log. So you might remember the Shipment Log Items on the Databases tab. Now these are those same items, but now I can actually go in and initial and date next to each step to verify that I'm following the steps in my company's compliance procedure. And this can be stored as part of the master record and preview printed or emailed just like any of the other documents, and you can keep this as part of your records, so if you ever get audited by the Office of Export Enforcement or the FBI or some other agency with jurisdiction over exports, you can show that you're doing your due diligence to maintain compliance. And the Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security says that in cases where an export violation may have occurred, being able to demonstrate due diligence, being able to demonstrate that you're making your best efforts to follow the rules and regulations is a strong mitigating factor which can protect you from facing fines or penalties. So again, this checklist comes preloaded with 7 steps that your company might follow, but it's fully customizable to fit your company's specific export compliance procedure. The next feature I'll show you is the Compliance module. So if we click the Compliance button, it'll bring us to the Compliance module where we can use 3 different tools. The first is a restricted party screening tool, which will screen all the contacts in our shipment against over 100 denied party lists, including all of the lists published by the US federal government, as well as several lists published by foreign governments and international organizations like the EU and the UN. Screens all of those lists at once with the click of a button so you can make sure you're not doing business with restricted parties. This document determination tool will help you determine which documents you need to provide for each shipment, and the export license determination tool will help you determine if you need an export license. So the way these would work, you'd select which tool you want to use. So maybe you want to do restricted party screening. We'd click Run Compliance. It'll ask for a username and password. So I'll enter that quick. And we'll click OK, and it'll bring us the results. So it looks like there was no matches found for our exporter, ultimate consignee, or bill to parties, but if we scroll down a bit farther, we can see that our freight forwarder did match up twice, and one of them was a pretty high match, 89%. So you might want to think twice before doing business with this particular individual. We can print the results here, and the results also get automatically stored in an audit trail. So if we click Audit Trail, it'll give us a history of all the compliance screenings we've run for this shipment, and we can go back and view the results. So again, if you ever get audited by the Office of Export Enforcement, they're going to want to see concrete proof that you're running compliance screenings, that you're doing your due diligence, and having the ability to print out these results and store them in this audit trail can really help in those situations. The last feature I'll touch on the Easy Start tab is this copy feature. So let's say you had a shipment go out last week and you're preparing another shipment this week, which is essentially identical. Same products going to the same customer. So rather than starting a new shipment from scratch, you can copy a previous shipment and change just what needs to be changed. Our customers often tell us that saves them a whole lot of time, especially if they're doing repeat shipments like shipping the same products to the same customer consistently. That can save you a whole lot of time and headache as well. So we've gotten through the core of the software with the databases and the Easy Start tab. This Utilities tab has a conversion calculator which you can use to convert between imperial and metric, lengths, areas, weights, volumes, so that can come in handy. You can generate some different types of reports here, so shipments by country, shipments by products for example. You can enter the date range for which you'd like the report here. You can preview, print, or email any of the reports, and you can also export that data to an Excel spreadsheet as well. Then you can print some basic shipping labels here as well. This Tools tab is where you'd run the Data Exchange Manager if you were to import orders from an accounting, order entry, or ERP system. You can import the contact and product databases from a text file format and export them to that same format. You can back up the database, delete shipments, lock or unlock shipments, and you can also do some basic customization of the documents here as well. So for example, on your commercial invoice, you can choose which fees you want to show up, you can choose how many digits you want to show up in your Schedule B code, and you can also change field labels on many of the documents. So for example, the default field is called Ultimate Consignee, but you can choose to customize that to change it to buyer or end user or purchaser or whatever other field that you would like to change it to. So there is some customization built in that users can do themselves. This admin tab is where you'd set the database connection when you're initially installing the software. Here's where you'd set up that data exchange manager if you were to connect Shipping Solutions to an ERP system. You can upload signatures and logos here, so you can see for this example we have several different logos in here and some signatures as well, but of course if you were using the software yourself you could upload your own. You can set up user profiles. You can set up user groups, so maybe you want to have an admin group that has all the access rights, but you also want to create a documentation group that has some more limited access rights, like maybe you don't want them to be able to delete shipments, for example, so you can set up different user groups with different access rights. And then here's where you'd set up user accounts, which is what you would need to log into the software. Finally, I'll end off by going back to the main menu. Our phone number and our email address are listed here. I don't know of any other software company that makes it so easy to get in touch. We really prioritize customer service and we want to make sure you're finding what you need and you're getting your questions answered. This Shipping Solutions News Flashes box, we just post links to new articles on our international trade blog, information about software updates, as well as a link to our support page where you can find user guides, video tutorials, our online help desk, frequently asked questions, and our annual maintenance program or AMP website. And the initial price includes a free 1-year subscription to the AMP, and the AMP covers free updates, free tech support, and access to the compliance module. After the first year, you have the option to renew the AMP for another year for a reduced fee. If you don't renew it, you can still use the software. You just wouldn't get those AMP benefits of free updates, free tech support, and access to the compliance module. So that's Shipping Solutions in a nutshell. I hope that after viewing this video, you understand how the software works. If you think your company could benefit from automating your export documentation and compliance procedures using Shipping Solutions software, give us a call or send us an email and we'll be happy to assist you. Thanks again, and happy exporting!